The Lost Art Project, Veteran Voices with Andrew Cox. Preserving history, one veteran story at a time. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art Project, Veteran Voices with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Project, Veterans Voices. We have a great veteran voice for you today. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? And make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check us out. See what we're all about. There's a couple ways you can help support us here. You can go to that website, click on that one-time donation link. You can become a patron with a monthly donation, or you can go in and just get you some cool merchandise, wear it around, and just show your support for the podcast here. Or you can advertise right here on the podcast if you have something that you would like to advertise with, or about, I should say. Big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project, man. They're doing amazing things. You need to go check them out. You can find them at tillvalhallaproject.com. Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps Veteran Service Organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. All right, we're back here. I got Volker Heyde here. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good time. What do you think?
I think so too. I'm looking forward to it. So
Perfect. Well, I guess let's start at the beginning for you. Where did you grow up? Kind of tell me about that a little bit. What was it like? And then what led you to military service?
All right. Well, I was born in Germany in 1942 in a small town off the Danube. My father was stationed in the Luftwaffe at the time, and my mother, we lived in that town. And at the end of the war, when my father came home, they applied for immigration status in 1946. And my mother's parents had already immigrated here back in the 20s. And they sponsored us because in those days you had to have a sponsor, you had to pay a fee, you had to have a job, and you had a place to live. And they sponsored us, and it took about 3.5 years before we got immigration status. And we came across the North Atlantic in December of 1949. And if anyone's ever been on the Atlantic, it's not a nice sea to go across. To say the least. So in December, it's even worse. But we landed in New York in December 19th, 1949, where the Intrepid is today, Pier 52.
Okay.
And from there, we lived with my grandparents in Woodhaven in Queens. My father had some menial job in a watch factory, but it was a job. And it was Christmas time. So after Christmas vacation, my mother walked me, my older brother, down to the local school and signed us in. Now, we couldn't speak a word of English, not a single word.
Oh.
So she signed us in, and then German said at 3:00, make sure you're here by this gate. Don't you move. And the teachers took us off. I think my older brother went to the 3rd grade, and I went into the 2nd grade, and we just sat there. And we just sat there. We had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But in those days, in the 50s, we had teachers, and I'm not degrading any teachers today, but back in the day, in the 50s, teachers, it was almost like a calling. And the teachers worked with us. And I can honestly say, with a slight accent, in June of 1950, when we went on to the next grade, my brother and I were speaking English.
Wow.
Of course, my mother always picked us up, and at home, like other multi-language people, we spoke German at home. And then sometimes during that following year, like any parent, when we came home from school, how was the school? What did you learn? And either I or my brother, I don't remember which, we said to my mother, I says, what's a Nazi? What's a kike? What's a Jew killer? And all these things.
Oh.
And to this, I never asked my mother. I always wanted to ask her, how did you answer that?
Mm-hmm.
But evidently, I asked my older brother where we ever jumped, where we ever bullied or beat up because we were Germans, we were Krauts and Nazis and all that kind of crap. And he said, no, we assimilated. And I can say, like I said, by June 1950, I was speaking English.
Yeah.
My accent only comes back if I speak for 30 minutes at a conference or a speech, something, then my accent starts slipping back in. But as you can hear, I have no accent whatsoever. I have a New York accent. I shouldn't say
Well,
that.
yeah. I definitely hear a New York accent.
And okay. Queen's accent, to be sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went to school, and then I applied for Brooklyn Technical High School, which is not a lottery. You had to pass a test. I went to high school for 4 years in 1956, and I graduated in 1960. Meantime, my father, he learned English on his own. He went to night school for 1 year. He read the newspapers every day, and he spoke English within a year. And he had an accent until he passed on, but that's what adults do. Children learn very quick. So anyway, I was graduating toward the end of my high school, ready to graduate in June 1960. And here in New York, during those years, I don't think they do it anymore. Around Christmas time, before Christmas vacation, the colleges would come in and give their spiel. And then the service academies came in, they gave their spiel. And then the services come in. And the last one in January of 1960 was the Marine Corps. Now, I had a love affair with the military history. I love history, American, ancient, everything. And like I say, my father was away at war for 6 years. Didn't talk about it much, but I just always felt the discipline was in me somewhere. And as far as going to college, I wanted to become a civil engineer. And then that takes another bunch of years in college. And I says, that's not for me. So I had seen a recruiter already, gave me information, and I kind of put it away. So when I came home one day, I told my father, I'm just going to graduate high school. I'm not going to college. He says, well, that's your call. But he said to me, enjoy the summer. The rent is due September 1st. Yeah.
I like it.
Well, my father was born in Dresden. He's an old Prussian, so he was disciplined, loving, but he was very disciplined. So I had looked at my blue stick and I pulled out the paperwork, and I said, okay. So on my way home from school, I went back to the recruiter, says I want to join the Marine Corps. He had me fill out all the papers, and it was always going to be the Marines. Again, nothing against the other three services, but the Marines just took me in. And he says, well, you're 17. You got to get your parents to sign. So I took the papers home, and my father had just finished supper. And after supper, his ritual was, as I say, he would buy the Daily News, the Daily Mirror. He had a legal pad. He had a German-American dictionary. And he would read newspapers from front to back, everything in it. And any words he didn't understand, he would write down and look it up. So I come in that night, and I said, Pop, I says, I joined the Marine Corps today, and I need your permission because I'm a 17. And I thought, being away at war for 6 years, and it's 1960, it's only 15 years since the end of the war, that he would do something to say something that, try to talk me out of it, if you will. All he did was just look up at me, and he says, is this what you want to do? And I said, yes, sir. And my mother came in. They both signed, and I took the papers back. I took the papers back to the recruiter, and he says, when you graduate high school? I says, June 30th. He says, let me see. Oh, I can get you to Paris Island on July 11th. 2 weeks. So 2 weeks later, I got on the bus, got on the plane, and my whole world changed. So boot camp.
there wasn't a lot of process time for you to get
No,
prepared or anything.
Again, I was kind of I don't give a shit attitude, but
Yeah.
hey, it happened. It was rough for me because I was not the most athletic of people. And an old Marine told me many years later, he says, back in the 50s and 60s, the Marine Corps, like other services too, I guess, he says, if you had a heartbeat and you were breathing, you could be a Marine. And then
Yeah.
they would weed you out in Paris Island, which they did. But
Yeah.
I survived 14 weeks. And to this day, like I say, I'm 83 years old and I'm just as gung-ho today as I ever was. And
Yeah.
I always tell people, I may be old, fat, and stupid, but I can still shoot straight. But anyway, after I got out in 1965, I had one more year of duty. And then after my contract was over, I joined the phone company, New York Telephone, and worked as a field technician for 6 years. And then in 84, when they broke up the system, I went over to the AT&T, worked there for another 6 years, and I retired in 1990.
Okay.
And they gave me 30 years. And then after that, I worked for some other communication companies. And in 2008, I retired again.
Okay.
And 1967, I was in the Marine Corps. I met friends with one of my buddies, and he says, well, come on upstate New York. Visit me anytime you're free. So I think it was 1968. I called him up. I'm coming up, and the 8-hour car ride trip it took me to get to Rochester, he set me up with his sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I met her, and we went out bowling, and we kind of clicked. Not maybe so. It was just, we dated, but long distance. Yeah. I would leave work at 5 o'clock on Friday, drive 8 hours up to Rochester, spend the weekend with her, and leave about 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon to get back to work on time Monday morning. As this went on, and finally, we were at an American Legion function up there where her brother was part of, and I joined. We had a big affair. I forget what the party was. So we're sitting at a table, and I'm totally ossified. I am totally wiped out. So I lean across the table. I asked Dana, my wife, I says, will you marry me? And she said, well, ask me again when you're sober. So, so a couple of weeks later, we were up at the mall in upstate New York, and we're walking in a mall, and I'm walking past this jewelry store, and I stop her and turn her around and says, well, what about it? You going to marry me or what? And she said, yes. So I turned around, I faced the jewelry window and says, okay, pick anything to the left side. Don't even think about the right side. Pick something from the left side. So she picked up a ring, and I didn't do none of the knee. You know, I'm not, they say I'm a romantic, but yeah, well, whatever. And then 3 years later, in 1972, we married, and we're coming up on 53 years next week. And
wow,
I got 4 beautiful children. I got 7 grandchildren, and I got 5 great-grandchildren. So
wow. Okay.
So I'm content. I'm happy. And, you know, had a couple of bouts with cancer, but that's all past now too. So other than that, I can't complain except what's going on in the world, but that's neither here nor there. So
yeah, true.
That's about it.
Well, let's go back and talk a little bit more in depth about some of it, if you don't mind. Can you talk about boot camp for you? What was that like? And then, you know, the good, the bad, all those types of things.
Well, boot camp, it depends on your definition of the word bad. It's not as bad as now it is when I went in 1960. The toughest part is these Marines today, these recruits, these poolies who join the Marine Corps now, by the time they actually get to Paris Island or Hollywood in California, they're in such perfect shape that they have absolutely no problem doing the rigorous physical exercises. When I was in boot camp, during my high school years, my idea of physical education was put my gym shorts on, run around the trek a couple of times and hide in a corner for the next 40 minutes. So I would say physically, I was totally unsuitable for the rigors that were coming up on me. I remember the first day, the drill instructor put us in formation. And if you've ever been to Paris Island, the tarmac, the parade ground, is a half a mile on each side and quarter mile on each end. So it's a big, huge rectangle. It's a mile and a half. And that first morning, he ran us around that tarmac.
Yeah.
So by the time we got on the end of the first leg, and he's just doing cadence, not out of breath, and we're starting to wheeze and coughing. So I made it around to the short end, and at that point, I wanted somebody to shoot me. My heart is ready to burst. I am ready to die. So we go down to the other leg, the long leg, and about halfway through, and here I see this guy. He's running around us in circles, cadence, yelling, screaming. And by about halfway down the field, I says, I ain't letting, no way am I letting that son of a bitch beat me. And that's the point every recruit reaches. They reach that point that they want you at, that you push your body to such a point and then some, much like the marathoners, you know. Yeah. And after that, it became just grueling physical exercise. And I came out in the best shape of my life. And the training is tough. The rifling, learning how to shoot. And
now, had you ever shot before you went?
No, never had a. But I shot I'm an expert shot, so
nice.
I can shoot very well. Even to this day, I go to rifle range with friends of mine once in a while, and I'm still dead on. So, nice. And as far as the training, the book training, the history of the Marine Corps, that's all taught in the classroom. But we spend a lot of time outside, actually most of the time. And it's always in something. You never walk. You always run. Yeah. And, but like I say, it made me what I am. It took those ideals plus the ideals my father instilled in us. And I may be the man I am today. And I'm not ashamed to say it. You know.
Yeah, very good. Now, do you remember your drill instructors, their names and everything?
The first one was Gonzalez, I believe. He was the senior drill instructor. And when I failed the physical readiness test, they sent me. I was set back 2 weeks. They sent me out in the rifle range in Paris Island. And again, I don't know if they still have it today. They have what they call the motivation platoon. It's four platoons: a fat man's platoon, a motivation platoon, a strength platoon, and a headquarters platoon. And each what I just said means exactly that. As I said before, if you had a heartbeat and you were breathing, you'd be a Marine. And we had some really heavy weights, and they did intensive exercise to get their weight down. If they made the mark, they were put back into the cycle. And I had 2 weeks of the most intense. I mean, I couldn't do 5 pull-ups. Boy, I did a lot of them at the end of that training. So, but then again, I got to a new one, a new platoon. And what was his name? Reynolds. Staff Sergeant Reynolds. And I think it was Reynolds. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I would have to look at the book, at the page. Okay. But like I said, then I graduated and then you, after boot camp in Paris Island, at least, you go up to Camp Lejeune, Camp Geiger, and there you learn infantry training. It's the infantry training regiment, and that's where you learn all your infantry skills, grenade throwing, how to ambush, all the combat elements of being a Marine are taught. And then after that, I went right next door to Camp Lejeune base, and I became artillery. I was in the artillery for 5 years.
Nice.
Shooting big guns. But,
now, did you have to go to school for that?
Yes. Well, I went to, because I ended up, because of my high school resume, they put me in fire direction, which is I'm the one who, our group is the ones who tell guns where to shoot, or how to point the
Right.
guns in what direction. And that was
A lot of
basically my
math.
job.
A lot of math in that.
A lot of math. Old, I don't know, most people probably don't even know what a logarithm table is, but we did everything by hand, everything by slide rules. Now, like today, everything is digital. And then when I did join the Corps, I made it my mission that I was not going to be a peacetime Marine. I'm sorry, stateside Marine. And so in December 61, the top came out and says, I got openings here for Okinawa. And I raised my hand. And so in December 61, I went by ship to Okinawa via Hawaii and Tokyo.
Wow. Okay.
The tour of duty that time was 13 months. And while I was over there, I went to Taiwan, I went to Thailand, I went to Philippines. And let's see. Yeah, then I came back, and my next duty assignment was Quantico. And I spent 9 months in Quantico when I came back from overseas. And I was there when Kennedy got shot, when Kennedy was assassinated.
Okay.
And that was a rough thing because the whole country basically shut down. We were on war alert. They shut the base down. Everybody was ordered to stay in place, and we were on a war footing because the rumors were that they were after Kennedy and they were after Johnson. They weren't after the cabinet. So, and when he was when they did the funeral, we were all in Quantico. Everybody had to have dress blues. And when I reported in, the first thing the top said to me, "Do you have blues?" I says, "No." So the next day I went down and got them.
Nice.
And we were supposed to be part of the,
Like the
if you remember
procession or
back in every 6 feet there was a serviceman
Oh, right. Yeah.
Capitol to the Arlington, but they canceled us at the last minute. And as I said, then I wanted to go back to Okinawa again. So the top came out. We were going on our way to exercise. And I says, he comes out. I says, I got a billet here for Okinawa. I says, I raised my hand. He says, no, Heidi, you're too short. You don't have enough time. So I extended my enlistment to go back to Okinawa.
No kidding. Okay.
And at that time, my brother, who also joined the Marines, he was stationed in Camp Fujiyama up in the mountain. And my older brother was in the Air Force. He was down at Clark Air Force Base. And I managed to get tickets for the 64 Olympics. And my brother came down from Fuji, and my older brother couldn't get off. So my younger brother and I, we spent about 4 days in Tokyo during the Olympics. So that was cool.
Wow. That's cool.
And then we
now, what do you remember about the Olympics? Was there anything?
I remember. Well, my brother was into swimming events, so I got a whole bunch of. He went off to do swimming stuff, and I was kind of field. And I remember the closing ceremonies were starting, and they were still doing the high jump. Is it high jump that you? And between the Russian and the American, and the Russian won.
Okay.
I may be 100% wrong, but I can distinctly remember they were already starting the ceremonies and the athletes were marching in. And they were still in the middle of the field, jumping over a quarter inch at a time. They were doing the bar. So the final Russian. But it was impressive. The closing ceremonies were absolutely fantastic. And, these are things that most people will never see.
Oh, yeah. Very true.
So I can say that then I came back a second time, right back to Camp Lejeune, and basically finished out my enlistment there and came home. And I didn't join the Marine Corps League until 1972 because I didn't know about it. No one told me anything about it. But I was fighting cancer then, so I had nothing to do, and I joined. Sorry, not 1972, in 2010. I joined the Marine Corps League. And I'm very active in it. And
fairly recent then.
It's 15 years. So other than that, what else can I tell you?
Man, I don't know. Let's see. Now, did you go on any floats or anything like that while you were in?
That's the thing that really pisses me off, that all the time I spent in Camp Lejeune, every time there was a Met cruise, which is a float, I missed it. It was either in the L battery, and I was in Delta battery, or I was in Echo battery, and it was in Gulf battery. So I missed all the cruises, but I feel content. I went to the Far East for 2 times, so it kind of balanced out, if you will. But
yeah. And you were with artillery while you were over there as well, correct?
yes, in the 12th Marines. The 10th Marines is the artillery 2nd Division, and the 12th Marines are the artillery regiment in the 12th Marines.
Right. Now, what did you do at Quantico?
I was an instructor. I was, again, Quantico is where they train the OCS, the students become officers. And one of my jobs was to teach artillery math. And
okay.
So I was an instructor there for about 4 months on and off as each class graduated. But one thing that came out again, back in Okinawa, I went to corporal's NCO school.
Yeah.
And right after I became a corporal, and at the end of the class, you had to give a 20-minute discussion speech on something that you chose. And I forgot what I chose, but at the end of it, the sergeant in charge of the class, he says, Corporal, he said, you weren't born here, were you? I says, no, Sergeant, I wasn't. He says, Germany? I says, yes. So I asked him, why? How did you? He says, you started talking in German syntax. I saw accent coming back. You're starting to speak with not clicking your heels or anything like that. But he says, yeah, your grammar. In German, basically, I think is the horse pulls the wagon. And in English, the wagon is pulled by the horse. He says you were starting to talk in reverse grammar. I don't know what he called it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But and in Quantico, the same thing happened. They asked me, says, you weren't born here, right? I said, no, I wasn't. So, but I taught that until the offer came up to go back to Okinawa again. And that's why I was there for 6 months, 9 months at Quantico. So right after Kennedy got assassinated, I went back to Okinawa again.
Yeah. Wow. Now, what do you said your father never really talked about his time while he was in.
No, and I found that out with conversation with other veterans here, Marines and Army veterans. When I first joined the Marine Corps League, we had a China Marine as a member. He was in Marine Corps from 1936 to 1939, Chase Station in China. One of the most fascinating men I ever talked to. I talked to him for hours, and he was involved in some kind of combat operation, but he wouldn't talk about it. But our detachment also had 12 Iwo Jima survivors, and they very rarely talked about it. They they talked about other things around, and then only toward the end, a couple of them started talking about what they went through in day 1 of Iwo Jima and day 2. Most of them were day 1 and day 2. But as far as my father, not really. He basically was in the North African, Sicily, Italian campaigns with Rommel. My father was what they call a military courier. He would fly between Berlin and wherever Rommel happened to be. And then, of course, after Rommel was told to kill himself, he's still part of his army, and they basically worked their way. The Americans, the Allies, chased him across North Africa into Sicily. Then they into Italy, and up near Murano, Italy, my father caught acute appendicitis. He was very near death, and they couldn't get him to a hospital, so they operated him on in a field hospital. And he went under the knife with German doctors, and when he woke up, he was under the care of American doctors, and he was a POW. So,
whoa. Yeah. Now that'd be a little bit shocking.
So he was a POW for about 3 months. And during that time, my mother had no idea whether he was alive or dead. And so one day in October of 45, my mother's looking out the window across the plaza from where we lived. And she sees this guy walking up, and she knew right away it was my father. And since Germany was in ruins, tough work was tough. And as I said, in early 46, my parents applied for immigration status. So the other thing, my mother's family, as I said, came over in the 20s, so she could speak perfect English, and she would travel back and forth between Germany and the United States. And she too met my father on a blind date. His best friend set him up with my mother. So,
oh wow!
So anyway,
runs in the family.
It runs in the family. But I remember I was only 3 years old, but I remember crashing noises and loud noises, and I didn't know till later there was bombs dropping. And every time the bombers went over our town, my mother would pack the two of us up at the time, wrap us in a big quilt, take us down to the basement, and put us in our corner. And toward the end of the war, she finally got fed up with it, and she said, the last time she said, she took us in a bed with her, both of us, wrapped us all, and she says, "That's it, I'm done. If it happens, it happens. God's will be done." But it didn't. So the day came when they started coming into the town, and the big fear then was, who's coming into our town first, the Russians or the Americans?
Oh, right, yeah.
And so on that day, my mother heard the rumbling of tanks, and she looks out across the plaza, and there's a barrel of a tank coming across that, and the tank stopped. So all she saw was the barrel.
Yeah.
So she took the two of us, three of us, down into the basement, put us in our corner, and we were happy. We didn't give a hoot. So we've done this so many times, it's second nature. She went upstairs, and she saw the tank move, and it was a white star. So it was the Americans. So she went back downstairs to see how we were doing. And as she's coming up the stairs, there's a banging on the door, a rifle butt banging on the door. And someone's outside, whoever was banging says, "Aufmachen," which means open up, or Hände hoch, hands up. So as she's going up the stairs, my mother had kind of a Brooklyn accent at that time, still German, but a New York accent. So as she's going up, she was afraid that they were going to knock the door down. He says, "Hold your horses. I'll be right there," So she opens up the door, and there's this sergeant standing there with his jaw dropped. He says, and I won't say what he said. "What am I in Brooklyn here? What's going on?" He says, "I have to come into your house." She says, "Knock yourself out." But he turned her around, and he put the rifle in the back of her neck, and he walked around to every room in the house, and then down to the cellar, and saw three of us sitting there in the corner, happy as clams, crying. And then as they're walking out, he saw the beer and the wine. He says, "Can we have some wine?" She says, "Knock yourself out. Help yourself." So being that she could speak English, she became the translator for the captain, the town we were occupied for a couple of years, and she was a translator for the town. So I think we made out pretty good. And then, like I said, my father came home, and we immigrated, and here we are. Here I am, 83 years later.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. What a great story, though. Talking about coming to the country, immigrants coming in, and then you did very well for yourself. You went through the Marine Corps, and then you were doing what'd you say? It was in computers and stuff, right? After
instruction, there were no computers in those days. It was all done by hand, by slide rules and logarithms. I was teaching artillery math, how to fire a gun. So and I enjoyed it very much.
And what was it that you got into after you got out?
I joined a phone company, New York Telephone.
Phone company.
On a whim. I just walking across the plaza here in New York, and where Trade Center was. And I saw a telephone company employment office. I was doing a shit job someplace else. I says, what can I hurt? So I went inside, and as they say, he liked me, had Marine background, this, that, and whatnot. And I started working for $100 a week. So,
all right.
So that's it, But like I said, what else can I tell you?
You worked how long? 30 years? total?
Well, I
doing
worked
that?
for almost 25 years for the New York Telephone, AT&T. And when I took an early package retirement in 1990, they added 6 years of my age, of my service date, and 6
Oh,
years to
wow.
my age. So that put me at 30 years. And I
I
took a
see. Okay.
pension. Then for a couple of years after that, I tried to start a company with my buddy, but that kind of flunked out. So, and then I joined another communications company, worked for them for 15 years. And in
Yeah.
2008, I retired because of my cancer. So it's, it's worked out well. I have no complaints.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you spend a lot of time with your grandkids and great grandkids?
Most of my two oldest grandchildren, they live up in Rochester. My daughter met her husband up in the Oswego, New York, and they settled up there. They're only 330 miles from us. That's to my wife and I. We both love to travel, and for that's like going to a store for a gallon of milk, And my other oldest son, he's the one who has the five great grand. They live right across the river in Jersey. And my youngest son, who's a New York City fireman, he lives maybe a mile down the road from my house. So we see him as often as we can,
Yeah. Well, that's good. They're all fairly close, at least.
Yeah. It's not like my brother, unfortunately, his grandchildren live up in Yonkers. He lives down in South Carolina. So I don't think he sees them as often as he would like to see them,
Yeah.
But it's getting. I'm happy. I'm content. My wife and I are both content. Like I say, we've been living with each other for 53 years, and we're still here.
And that's not a small feat. That's incredible. You look at marriages nowadays, and they don't last.
I don't know, they say 5 years, 10 years at the most. Yeah.
Yeah. But 53. I mean, that's up there.
We don't fight. We don't argue. She comes from upstate. Upstate New York has a whole different mentality. They're very stoic people. My wife, we have anything you want to call an argument. She would says, "You feel better now." That pisses me off even more. So at the end, so it is what it is. Like I say, hopefully we'll be around for another 10 years to see my grandchildren grow up into teenagers. That's my goal.
Yeah. Wow, that'll be awesome. Yeah. Holy cow.
My grandson is a spitting image of his father, and I want to be here. Say, what goes around comes around. He is. I says, So when
that's good.
When my youngest son was born, he came in at 10 pounds 4, 23 and a half inches long, right?
Wow.
And, I saw my kids before my wife because she was still unconscious. So I went to the nursery with my youngest, Peter, and the nurse says to me, "You want to hold him?" I said, "Sure." I held all the other three. So she lays this body in my arms, and I'm holding him like, cradling him. And the nurse is standing there, and the aide is standing there. And I look down on him, and he opens his eyes, and he smiles at me. And I'm looking down at him. I says, "You're the one. You're the one who's going to break my balls till the day I die." I'll tell you, he's a sweetheart. And then he smiled again. I says, "Oh God." And it was true. He was none of my kids are bad, but this guy, he broke my stones forever, but in a nice way. I have no complaints. So,
that's pretty good.
I got 4 different characters, but the beauty about them is when these 4 get together, I swear they're doing something criminal because they're tight. All 4 of my kids are very tight. They're circle the wagons, as you say, So
they're gonna get you one way or another. They're gonna come.
They're now they treat me like I'm in a wheelchair, for God's sake. No, Dad, at your age, I says, I'm not dead yet. So, I do. I'm a crowd. I'm a German. We gotta beat us with a 2x4 once in a while for the light bulb to go on. But I've learned through accidents and misadventures. Yeah, it's time I acted my age.
You don't need to grow up. Don't worry about it.
No, what the hell? My neighbor next door says, Volker, he says, if I catch you up on that ladder, I will throw you under the bus so fast, I will call your son, because they forbid me to get up on a ladder. I'm not going to go up on a roof, but, a couple of feet.
Yeah.
But they're great kids. They're great kids. I have no complaints about what's happened.
That's
awesome. I'm just concerned about this world, what's going on. That bothers me.
Well, there's a lot of craziness, and it doesn't seem to slow down any. It seems to pile up more and more.
It's getting worse and worse. So it is what it is. I just hope my kids straighten it out so my grandchildren can have a good life. But anyway, right. Other than that, like I said, I have no complaints, and I enjoyed my 5 years in the Marine Corps, my 6 years in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. Made me, I honestly believe what I am today. And it's, as they say, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah.
Until they slam that lid down. You can't see it, but I got a shirt on.
You got your Marine shirt on? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always wearing. And what I've noticed in the last, I would say, 4 years, even when we had the corpse for president, but sorry.
That's okay.
So I get a lot of thank you for your services. A lot of people stopping me saying thank you for your service, which I didn't really experience back in the 90s and the 80s. It was there, but not as it is today. And the tragedy that's happened a couple of days ago, I think is gonna be good for the country. It's not his death, of course, but his ideals, his turning point thing. It bothers me. I'll be honest with you. I get very upset. And the other thing that bothers me to this day is the thing that went on in Afghanistan with the 13.
Oh, yeah.
I still can't say their names. It bothers me to no end. But it's past. Hopefully we learn from those mistakes. Other than that.
Hopefully.
Well, how else can I entertain you?
Well, I always ask these rapid fire questions at the end.
Okay.
So if you're willing, we can jump into that.
If you want to,
Yeah,
I'm yours.
Let's go for it.
I'll talk to you for as long as you want. I got no place to go.
Me either.
So there you go.
All right. What is your proudest military moment?
Graduating boot camp.
Okay. Good. What is your most embarrassing military moment?
Get the shit kicked out of me by my drill instructor.
Makes sense. Yeah. Oh, man. If you could be one military leader for a day, who would that be?
Chesty Puller.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to love Chesty. All right, here we go. If you could change one rule in the military, what would it be?
None.
Okay. All right. I like it. What is one lesson or skill you learned that you still use today?
Math. Math.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Now it's communications.
Yeah. All right. In the zombie apocalypse, what will be your weapon of choice and what anthem will be playing?
The Marine hymn and a rifle.
Okay. I like it. What animal best describes your time in service?
A bear.
Ooh, okay. I don't think anybody's ever said bear. I like that. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to find the other one. All right, here it is. Knowing what you know now, would you do it all over again?
Absolutely, without hesitation.
Very nice.
In fact, I've also volunteered to, if you get me into a uniform, you need me somewhere. Like I said, I may be old, fat, and stupid, but I can still shoot straight.
Did they take you up on the offer any?
No, they can't find a uniform that fits me anymore. I've gained a few pounds.
It happens. It happens to us all, I think. All right. Well, I always give you an opportunity for words of wisdom. Something that you want to leave the listeners with.
Well, the words of wisdom that I would say is addressed to the young people, the generations, the Gen Zs, as they call them, the 18 to 30-year-olds. listen, learn, debate, ask questions, and don't be afraid to do all those things, because unless you change the bad things, this country will only get worse, and God knows where it ends up. That's basically it.
Man, that and then those are words of wisdom for sure. 100% spot on in my opinion. But well, hey, I want to say thank you for coming on. I had a good time. Hopefully you had.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because I love to talk anyway. So that's what people say. You talk too much. I says, well, I like to debate. I like to talk to people. I love to debate. I love to argue, not to convert, but just get it rational. Then maybe I do convert you to my way of thinking, or you can convert me to your way of thinking, which happens very rarely. I must be honest about. I'm a dying old conservative, but I listen, and that's the whole trick, that people don't listen.
Oh yeah,
they answer their questions with violence, and that's what's sinking us. And I just hope that changes. I truly do.
Yeah. And last week was, or this past week was just ridiculous.
It's brutal. It's horrible. It just almost drives me to tears. I'll be honest with you. Such a young guy, and what was he? He wasn't even a politician. He was just a guy speaking a message, and they shoot him. But that's that's for a whole different conversation. Don't want to get me started.
Well, I think we're actually, when I do my fireside chat this evening, that's going to be our topic points, is talking about those types of things, and basically good versus evil. Is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So other than that, sir.
All right. Well, thanks again for doing this. I truly appreciate it. I enjoyed it. And if you ever need anything, I'm always around if you ever need anything. So what did you say?
I said, anytime.
Awesome.
Like I said, I love these things. And I've never really listened to podcasts before, but I'm going to start doing it now.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that you're going to start because of this one. So that makes me feel good. That's good.
Yes, sir.
Hey, tomorrow night is we're doing the second official Marine Corps League podcast.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's going to be live.
All right.
So it'll be live on Facebook, on my Facebook. It'll be live on YouTube and also on X. Okay. And then I'll repost it after it's done. I'll repost it on my channel, and I can send you all those links and everything.
Okay. When is it?
It's tomorrow night at 7 Central, so it'd be 8 your time.
Okay. We've got a meeting tomorrow night, but I'll catch it on the rebroadcast.
Yeah. So I'll shoot it to you. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, do that. That'd be great. I love it. It's just it got me. I was in the process of signing up for Turning Point. I've been reading all of his stuff that he sends me.
Yeah.
I never really joined the organization, but now I'm going to. I just think it's the best thing in the world. One of the best. And hopefully turn this country around and get us back on an even keel.
Yeah. Yeah. We need it. We need it.
We need it badly. I think we got a good president. We got a good cabinet. We got some gung-ho people who don't take shit from anybody. But, so I don't know allowed to say that. But.
You can say whatever you want on my podcast. It don't matter. I always click that this isn't for kids, so it's all good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, sir.
Thank you again. Yep. Thank you for doing this. I truly appreciate it. I always in the podcast talking about veteran suicide and ways that people can get some help. So to all the listeners out there, if you're struggling and you do need help, you can always reach out to the VA. You can dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on that chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life lost is one too many. I care about you. I know this guy here cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And
can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Any veterans out there, if you're not part of the VA, sign up for the VA. Get into the system, because it may not be now or next year or 5 years from now. But if you're in the system, The VA is there to help you. I waited 10 years, but I'm now getting a lot of help for some of my ailments from the VA. So if you get out of the service or even in the service, sign up for the VA. Get into their system because down the road you may just need them. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great word. Thank you.
Okay.
Much appreciated. All right. Well, with that, don't leave me yet. We'll come back here in just a second after the outro. But to all the listeners out there, stay motivated. Change your socks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Lost Art Project Veterans Voices podcast. Our mission? Simple. Preserve history, one veteran story at a time. If you'd like to support this work, consider making a donation or sponsoring an episode. Every contribution helps us capture and share more stories for future generations. You can learn more and give at thelostart.podbean.com or by clicking the link in the episode's description. Stay motivated, change your socks, and remember, every story matters.